Most of you? Half of you. Anyway, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Denise, and I'm a kinesiologist. I work with people for holistic medicine for various different ailments. I got into holistic medicine about 18 years ago. I've been practicing for 16 years. It came as a shock to me how I wound up in this field. I used to be a corporate accountant for many, many years, and I had gotten really sick, and I went to every doctor under the sun, and nobody could seem to help me. Everybody misdiagnosed me, gave me medications for things I didn't have, which made everything 10 times worse. So in my absolute desperation, I had gone into a health food store, which was like taboo in my world. You know, I knew nothing about that kind of thing. And lo and behold, she directed me to someone who was a kinesiologist, and I had gone to this woman, and she told me that I had carbon monoxide poisoning. And I was like stunned, shocked, like how could this possibly be? You know, I had gone to every different doctor imaginable, had every different test done, and you know, they couldn't find anything. But later on I came to the information that you have to specifically be looking and take a specific blood test to find carbon monoxide in the system. So, long story short, she brought me to the best health of my life. Both physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, nutritionally, everything. And I was just really taken by this whole different world that I knew nothing about. And it was kind of freaky, I'll make no bones about it. It was pretty freaky for me, because I was used to going to the doctor, and them standing in their little white coats and their very pristine office spaces, and here I was in this woman's home, and she was just, moving my arm around and all this other kind of stuff. But that's a long story and really unnecessary for this particular application. But what it taught me was that there's a thing called energy that surrounds each and every one of us. Our bodies are made of energy. I mean, you learn about these things in like the 5th grade, that your bodies are, 95% water, and water is electrical in nature, and all of these things. But, you go through life, you grow up, and that means nothing to anybody, unless you're a scientist, So for most of us, we don't think about how our bodies interact with everything that we come in contact with, whether it's the foods we eat, whether it's the air we breathe, everything, the words that people say to us, everything has energy. It has a vibrational frequency to it. So our bodies are going to respond to that in a positive way or a negative way, one way or the other. So we're constantly with these like little radio waves going out, to everybody and everything. So with that knowledge, I started studying environmental energies and how people's homes can make them sick. Cheryl, you just became aware of that recently. And I do what's called environmental energy transformation. And that is literally taking the energy patterns that are in the home and diverting them, absorbing them, shifting them in some way so that they don't create a negative effect on the human body. So now I was into this whole aspect of, okay, it's not just the energy here, but it's also the energy out here as well. And when I was going to this kinesiologist, and funny enough, she lives right here in Warwick, which is the funniest thing, here I was 18 years ago, and I was living, down quite a ways from here, and she still lives here, which is great. But in any event, it was a whole new world for me, understanding energy. And I think a lot of people go about our daily lives not understanding that concept. And it's really not that important to go into today, really, for what we're talking about. But I want you to know that it exists because it is the base of what we're going to be talking about. When we talk about perspective, which is what this is, positive perspectives, perspective is everything, absolutely everything. Nothing in this world has meaning except for the meaning we give it. And that is the simple truth. Nothing has meaning. I mean, you take any aspect of your life and dissect it, sit and meditate on it, and really it means nothing except what we believe it means. So that's what a perspective is. And your perspective can change based on experiences. Okay? I got this wonderful email yesterday, and I wish I had that darn thing that you had in your store. Remember that projection thing?
Oh,
because I could have shown it that way, but I did print it out, and I want to show it to everybody because the timing was impeccable for this particular little thing. So, this is a picture that was drawn by a first grader. And it says, when I grow up, I want to be like Mom. I want to show this to everybody. Sorry, I'm moving out of range. Okay.
I take mommy's in the center.
That's Mommy.
Okay.
Okay.
There it is. Can you see it? Sorry for this interruption.
I got it.
Can you ladies see that?
Oh.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Okay. Now you all have just gotten a perspective on this, right? What our perspective of it is. Okay? Now I'm not even going to even try to guess what your perspective of that is. I know what mine was when I first saw it. So she handed it in to the teacher, and the teacher graded it, and the child brought it home. The next day, the child returned to school with a note for the teacher. Ironically enough, the teacher's name is Miss Davis. Okay, so it says, Dear Miss Davis, I want to be perfectly clear on my child's homework illustration. I want to show Jen an illustration before. We're talking about perspective and what people's perspective are. This is a picture that was drawn by a first grader for a school project. Okay? So the note that the mother sent says, Dear Miss Davis, I want to be perfectly clear on my child's homework illustration. It is not of me on a dance pole on stage in a strip joint surrounded by male customers with money. I work at Home Depot and had commented to my daughter how much money we made in the recent snowstorm. This drawing is of me selling a shovel. Okay, so now if you look at the picture again, okay, for a first grader, it's pretty darn good. But I know that's not what you guys thought it was. Okay, you can see the snow shovel, right? You get it. All right, so that's perspective. Perspective is whatever we put into it. Whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And we only base our perspective on what we know and what we experience. And when we don't experience something, we base it on what somebody else tells us. And that's probably the worst perspective you can take on. Assuming that you know anything based on someone else's experience of it is downright dangerous. So I would say to all of you, especially those of you who like to gossip, that it's very, very dangerous to sit with your coworkers and everything and listen to these outrageous stories about people. Because unless you have a proper perspective of that person or that situation, that will actually change the energy of you. Okay? Lesson number 1. All right. Now, in looking at this, I think
So if you're watching E! Entertainment at 7 o'clock for an hour every night, you're saying that the perspectives that you're picking up about these individuals,
right, is based on what they're telling you.
Right.
You don't know these people. You don't know anything about them or their lives or anything. But you're absorbing that perspective based on what the media is showing you.
And that's going to change my energy.
Well, it will, depending on what you do with that. You know, depending on what you do with it. I mean, I know there are people in this room specifically who will watch TV and get angry.
Uh-oh.
It's Deborah. It's Deborah. You know, because she's not liking what she sees. And all of us do that. I mean, she's not alone. I just use her because she's a great example. Because she does it every day. And all I have to do is say one word and you can watch her squirm in her seat right now. Okay? But we take on these perspectives. And it does affect us on one level or another. So the best thing that you can do to be happy, to reduce stress, because I think the advertiser only said that it was about reducing stress, which is not true. Okay, so forgive me if that's all you came for. You can leave now. But in order to reduce stress in your life, one of the best things that you can do is live your own truth. Not somebody else's, but live your own truth. Know what you know based on your own experiences. And that will drastically reduce your levels of stress. Okay? What we're going to be talking about specifically is the law of attraction. Okay? I know a couple of you here are familiar with it. Okay? I'm just going to assume nobody is. Alright? This way we'll start from the beginning. And basically the law of attraction is a law. It's a law of the universe. It's just like gravity. Okay? Nobody questions gravity. If you jump off the side of the building, you're going down. Okay? The law of attraction works the same exact way. Okay? Except we don't talk about it. A lot of people aren't familiar with it. Okay? The law of attraction says what you put out is what you will get back. Similar to karma. Similar to karma. Everybody knows what karma is, right? Is there anybody here that doesn't know what karma is? Okay, good. The universe is like a giant copy machine. And I mean that literally. What thoughts that you send out, and this is why we were talking about energy earlier, it's that vibrational frequency that goes out, okay? The universe gloms up, makes a giant photocopy of it, and sends it back to you, like a boomerang, okay? Now, I really don't care what your religious preferences are, what your spiritual preferences are. It doesn't matter to me, it doesn't matter to the universe. So, for these purposes, I mean, I have a tremendous amount of faith in God. That's where my belief system is. I don't, you know, question what anybody else's is. So, for me, when I'm thinking about the law of attraction or the universe or whatever, my perception of that is God. I don't care if you want to call him Jehovah, I don't care if you say it's the universe, the source, infinite intelligence, Mother Earth, whatever. Whatever your belief system is, that's where I want you to go with this. Because that's where it's going to be most powerful for you. Okay? If you don't believe in anything outside of yourself, then clearly you must believe in yourself. Because you're all you got. So then take that and this philosophy and apply it to your own willpower, your own being. The energy that you put out solely by yourself, okay? I think that it's pretty safe to say that most people have a belief in something greater than ourselves. Something, whether it be God, the universe, source, however you want to place it. Most people would agree that there are things that happen that are unexplainable, that are miraculous, and we have no concrete definitive thing that we can attach to it, that it just happens. Again, I will say that this is source, universe, God, whatever, okay? Chester, we can just call him Chester. For many years I did, so, and I'll get into that in a moment. But in going into understanding the law of attraction, I was very new to this at one point too. I've been studying the law of attraction for about 12 or 13 years now. And I would never stand up here or even sit on my own sofa and explain it to anybody if I didn't have proof that it works. only because I come from an accounting background. And my job for many, many years was to prove it to the penny. And if I couldn't prove it to the penny, my little boss me here, the little Indian man that stood about this tall, would make me go back and do it 16 times until I got it right. So I spent many years perfecting this and understanding it before I would actually go out and say, hey, do you know about this? So what I'm about to share with you, I will guarantee you that if you apply the principles of the law of attraction, you will reap the benefits of it. It's that simple. If you don't do it, you won't. It's that simple. And the choice is yours, obviously. But you're all here because you're looking for something else. Something else. So, with that, I will share with you that this philosophy is nothing new. It is absolutely not new. I am by far not the first or the 600th person to talk about it. Okay, there are a bazillion people in our history that if you research, you will find accurate documentation to verify that people like Alexander Graham Bell, Abraham Lincoln, Plato, Beethoven, Einstein, all of these people, all the great people of our nation, of our time, not even our time, but have applied the principles of the law of attraction. And that's what made them great, because they understood the workings of the universe. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to walk out of here and all of a sudden you're going to be the next Einstein. I mean, that's just, you know, not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to apply it to your life and start slowly and to understand the process so that as you move on, you can grow into bigger and better things. Okay, we all have basics that we can all agree on that we want. Everybody wants love. Everybody wants to be loved, feel love, express love. Everybody wants good health, because without that you've got nothing. I mean, it's that simple. Everybody wants more money. I don't care if you got all the money in the world. You still want more. Okay? You know, there's that whole saying that the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. And that's very true. And that's very true because the rich people that are getting rich understand these principles. And the poor people that don't. Okay? And they keep snowballing. And we'll go back to that phrase later on because that's a very important piece of the puzzle. Okay? So as I said, when you put some energy out there, okay, and this giant Xerox machine in the sky duplicates it and sends it back to you. Okay, so if you wake up one morning and you go to get out of bed and you trip on the blanket and you fall on your face and you smash your nose and your nose starts bleeding, okay, that's instantly a bad day, right? But from that point forward, okay, aside from the mishap, then you go down, you go to pour your tea or your coffee, and all of a sudden you spill it all over the counter, and then all of a sudden the kids start screaming, and you know, you go to put your socks on, you got a hole in your sock, and then your car won't start, and it just starts snowballing from there, okay? Everybody's had days like this, everybody. Once you start with a negative action, it's very easy to continue that process, because now all of a sudden you've got this negativity brewing, okay? Why does this always happen to me? And, oh, God, I can't believe this, and it just keeps getting worse. And your anger is rising, okay? So that energy is going out to the universe, duplicating itself and coming back. So it's going to get higher and higher and higher, okay? And then, of course, you go to work, and you're having an argument with somebody at work, and, you know, it just gets into this big mess. But if you wake up, and you're in a great mood, and you jump out of bed and you're like, it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. Well, you know what? All of those little things, you go and spill your coffee, it's like, oh, don't cry up, spill milk. You clean it up and you keep going. You know, and you've got that positive attitude working for you all day. And even though those same events might take place, you're in a much better space to receive. So you're sending out something great to start with, and then other great things will continue. Okay, so as you project it out, it comes back. Now, when we talk about energy, okay, I know a couple of people in this room have this book, okay? And this was written by Elaine Bartlett, who was a dear friend of mine. And she was actually here at the Nurtured Spirit over the summer, was it? I don't know, but she's coming back up in May. In May she'll be here, at the end of May. Elaine is a very interesting woman. I don't even know that I'd classify her as being human. You know, she's like the most angelic person you've ever met in your entire life. If you've had the privilege of meeting her, you would all agree with me. I mean, she's just an amazing human being. But she wrote this book in 1994. It's called Spiritual Law, a Handbook to a Higher Truth. And basically, it's not a reading book that you would just sit and read. Okay? This is my 5th copy of this book. Okay? Because the other ones got mutilated like some of the other books that you'll see later. But I'm going to pass this book around. Okay? And what this book does is it allows the universe, God, Chester, Jehovah, Mother Earth, whoever, whatever, to speak to you. Okay? What I want you to do is hold the book in your hands, sit quietly, and then I just want you to open it. And I want you to read what's in front of you. Because that is the message that you need to hear right now. Okay? So, start with you and you can just pass it down. Alright? So that you all get a grasp, you know, of energy. And what does that mean? And how does it work? Okay? When I met Elaine Bartlett, I remember I was doing environmental energy transformations. And I saw this little ad in the paper for a woman that did feng shui. And at the time I didn't even know how to say feng shui. But there was something about this ad, and I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what that meant, feng shui. But there was something about that ad that really drew me to it. Like, who is this woman? I really want to know who she is. And I wound up picking up the phone and I said, look, this is who I am, who are you, and what do you do? And she started telling me about feng shui, and it's about, you know, balancing and harmonizing your home and all of this happy stuff. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, I do this, you know, energy transformation stuff, you know, with earth energies and electromagnetic fields, and, you know, like, why don't we have lunch together? And that was the beginning of a very long relationship and a great friendship. But she had a store in Ridgewood, New Jersey, where it was a beautiful boutique. It was like a home boutique, and she had lovely things in it. And she had all these great things, like just normal stuff, and she would tell you where to put it in your house, you know, to enhance your money, or enhance your relationships, or clean up this, or clean up that. And I was like so intrigued by this, and I said, you know, I'm thinking about moving. And she said to me, well, where are you moving to? And I said, I have no idea. And she said, well, what does your house look like? I said, what do you mean, what does my house look like? I don't know, I'm not there yet. And she said, well, don't you know what you want? And I said, well, yeah, I'd like to have 2 bedrooms, I'd like to have a home office, I'd like to have a bathroom, you know, like all these simple things in life. And she said, no, what do you really want? And I had to stop for a second. I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, do you want carpeting? Do you want hardwood floors? Do you want, you know, this kind of light fixture, that kind of... I said, yeah, I don't know. You know, I figured I would just go and see what was available. And she said, why? Elaine's a very simple person. And she said, why? I said, what do you mean why? Like, I was just so blown away by her questioning. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And she said, no. Make a list of what you want. And I was like, why? What difference is it going to make? And she said, tell the universe what you want. That was my first, like, ever conversation of any sort about the law of attraction. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. And I went home and I sat down with a notebook This is why you girls and boys have notebooks. And I sat there writing down, trying to visualize in my head what my perfect home would look like. And it was hard. It was hard because I don't think I ever allowed myself to really know or really think about what I really wanted. So it took me a few hours, you know, to like visually walk through the house, look at the living room, what does that look like, what does the kitchen look like, what does this look like. So I did the whole exercise and that was it. Put the notebook away, shoved it in the desk, and never looked at it again. Well, a couple weeks later, and I really wasn't searching. I didn't have to move right away. It was just like a fleeting thought in my head that, you know, I'd like to move or whatever. And so I wasn't, you know, on the hunt that I had to go somewhere quickly. And a couple of weeks later, I had picked somebody up who had been horseback riding. And she had all these muddy boots on. And I had reached in my back seat and I grabbed this newspaper and I threw it on the floor so it didn't like mess up my carpets. And, you know, dropped her off. She got out and all of that. And I grabbed the newspaper out of the car and started walking in the house. And I got this like little tinge, you know, like this little like tap on the back of my head saying, don't throw the paper out. I was like, what the heck was that, you know? And, you know, is it insight, is it intuition, is it insanity, who knows, you know? But I got this little message not to throw the paper out. So I'm like, wow, this is really weird. So I went in and of course I tossed out all the muddy stuff. And I thought, what is this? So I, you know, grabbed a cup of coffee, sat down and started thumbing through the paper. Well, lo and behold, in this paper was an ad for an open house in Montclair, New Jersey. Now, I'm a big fan of Montclair. I really like it a lot. And I thought, and I'm looking and it sounds really nice. And I look at the date and it was yesterday. The open house was the day before I had got, you know, looked at this paper. I'm like, oh man, that's a bummer, you know, like the open house is over. But there was a phone number though. So I picked up the phone and I called the woman and I said, look, I know your open house was yesterday, but would it be okay if I came to look at it? And she said, oh, absolutely, come on over. So this actually was great because now I was there and I had all the time in the world. I wasn't pressured by real estate agents. I wasn't, you know, I was there by myself with this woman and we could chat. So I pulled up to the house and, you know, the first thing that was really appealing to me was that it was on a side road, but it was on a corner. And on the other side, on the main road, there was like another driveway and another entrance to the house. And I thought, that might be good for an office, like a home office, where the home office is on the main road and then like me and my guests and family and stuff could go in, you know, on the side road, so I wasn't really like living on the main road. So I walked in and I started walking around the house. It was lovely. And I walked into the kitchen. And all of a sudden, I just stood there, transfixed, because in this kitchen there was one brick wall in the kitchen. That was one of the things on my list. And I had never really seen that anywhere, it just sounded cool to me. You know, so I put it on my list. So I'm looking, I'm like, wow, that's really nice. And she said, well, let me show you outside while we're here. So she takes me out the back door. And down 2 steps was this beautiful slate patio. And I thought, oh my God. On my list, I put that I wanted a beautiful slate patio out my back door. And I just stood there, like in shock, like, no way. Like this, because I forgot about my notebook. I just kind of like shoved it in the desk and not to be thought of again. So as this woman's taking me through her house, now I'm reviewing my list in my head. That home had everything that was on my list. Every single thing that was on my list. I was amazed. I was scared. It totally freaked me out. And I left, I'm like, thank you very much, have a nice day. And out the door I go and I'm driving home saying, I don't believe this, I don't believe this, I don't believe this. Because all of a sudden, it was like there's something outside of me that was not in my little bubble, my little world. You know, you come home, you make dinner, you eat your dinner, you do your thing, you go to bed, you get up, you go to work, and you know, you do very regimented. Human beings are very habitual in nature, and we tend to, you know, once in a while we'll break out and we'll do fun things and different things. And there are a few of us that actually are very adventurous, but for the most part, you know, given the fact that we have to like pay our bills and do things, you know, unless you're independently wealthy, you're pretty much in that grind, no matter what. You know, you can try and break out here and there, but for the most part, most of us have to work for a living and do that kind of thing. So all of a sudden now this was like something outside of what I knew. And it scared me. It absolutely scared me. Like, what does this mean now? What do I do with this information? You know, I knew about energy. I knew about kinesiology and meridian energy transformation and helping people and all of that. But this was beyond that. This was so much bigger, so much greater than the client on the table. So with that, P.S. I never wound up buying the house because I was just scared to death of the whole situation. You know, and it took me some time to really digest, you know, what do I do with this information now, you know? And so I started exploring this because I thought, if this could actually be true, everybody needs to know about it. Everybody. Because if I'm walking around with you know, my head under a rock, so is everybody else, because nobody else I knew in my lifetime ever told me anything like this. You know, so of course I'm on the phone with Elaine. What does this mean? What do we do? What do you do with that? You know, and she was very gentle about it, as only Elaine can be. And you know, she just started teaching me a little bit here, a little bit there. You know, and she was busy too, so it wasn't like I could just go and glom her up for 3 weeks and lock her in a closet with me, you know, and learn everything. But as I started to explore this, I started to realize that there's a lot of information out there on this. A lot. So I'm going to share with you a couple of the books. I mean, I brought a whole slew of them. And this is like nothing compared to what's out there. I mean, all you got to do is Google the law of attraction, and you'll be stunned. But back then, we didn't even have the internet, so I had, you know, nothing to go on. But this book here, and I actually put these stickies in here because they all had something that I was actually going to take some good notes on for this, but I don't tend to do that. I have good intentions, but then I wing it every time. This book here, which as you can see is quite mutilated, very loved book. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. This book, it's all about the law of attraction. Okay? This book was written in 1912. Okay? This one, which also has my notes, which we can take out, because I'll let you guys peruse them if you want to. And again, with the energy thing, feel free to just open them up and read what's in front of you, because you're going to get exactly what you need in the moment you need it. That's how the universe works. But this book, The Science of Getting Rich, and also I have another one here.
I was just a little confused when you discovered this house happened upon you described this event.
Right.
How come did it translate into a conversion? Were you ended up buying it? You know,
I chose not to. I mean, we all have free will to do whatever we want to do. You know, the universe will bring you what you want. That doesn't mean you have to take it. So, I mean, I could sit here and say, well, you know, I'd love for someone to grab me a cup of coffee right now. And somebody could, but I could leave it right there and never drink it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I would suggest that you work with things that you do want and that you're ready to receive. Okay? This book is written by Wallace Wattles. I know it's a funny name, right? Wallace Wattles. Who names their kid Wallace Wattles? And this is The Science of Being Great and the Science of Getting Rich. Wallace Wattles wrote these books in 1910. So this information is not new by any stretch of the imagination. You know, there's actually, I wrote down a couple of quotes that I stole from the movie The Secret, which we'll talk about in a moment. And I love this one. It's from Buddha. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. Winston Churchill said, "You create your own universe as you go along." What this power is, I cannot say. All I know is that it exists. And that was by Alexander Graham Bell. And my favorite is, "Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attraction." And that was by Albert Einstein. And I can go on and on and on with these things, but it'll get boring. You simply have to watch The Secret. Has anybody watched The Secret? You've seen it, I know. You've seen it. Have you seen it? You saw it. Okay. The Secret came out, I want to say, what, like 4 years ago? I think it was like 4 years ago, right?
It's been a while.
Yeah. I was delighted when this movie came out. I was really, really excited because I had been working with the law of attraction for about 8 or 9 years. And for someone to put it in a visual, I thought, this is phenomenal. You know, this is really, really phenomenal. And this thing took off like a rocket. I mean, when people found out about it, it was all over the place. It was on Oprah. I mean, it was on every talk show imaginable. And basically, it is the principles of the law of attraction. They teach you, it's a documentary style, you know, quite entertaining, I think. You know, they have quantum physicists on here, they have reverends on here, they have philosophers, they have teachers, they have everybody on this thing. And they call it a secret because they talk about how all of these people in our history, all of these great people in our history, achieved these great things by applying these principles. They didn't share it with anybody. They wanted to keep the information to themselves so that they could achieve greater heights. If everybody knew how to do it, they were afraid that they wouldn't be as great. Now, there are plenty of people in today's society that apply these principles, and I'll share those with you in a little bit. But I found with this was like the greatest thing since sliced bread as far as I was concerned when it came out. What I will say about it is that I think it's somewhat incomplete. Because a lot of people watch this, and they get really pumped up, and they get really excited, and then nothing happens. And then they get really discouraged, and then they're like, oh, that doesn't work, you know. And that happens a lot to people. But I think there's some missing pieces in that. Now, Rhonda Byrne, who actually wrote this, wrote a sequel book, over here, called The Power. Okay? And basically, the whole gist of this book is to apply love to everything. I mean, that's the simple, basic truth of this. Is that all of it? I've discovered not. Okay, like I said, I have lived it, I have worked it, I have cried over it, I have screamed, yelled, and kicked my feet, as Deborah can attest, many times. But I will tell you that other people felt the same way. One of which would be a man named Joe Vitale. Now, Joe Vitale is actually in The Secret. He's one of the people they interviewed for that movie. And he put out The Missing Secret. And he's got his own little philosophy as to what the key to unlocking the law of attraction is. Well, I tried that too. That didn't work for me either. It may work for you. It might be exactly what you need. I'm going to go through all the different principles, you know, very briefly. Well, we might not be able to go through all the principles, but one of the things that Mary and I had talked about, and up front we have an email list, if you want to sign up for the email list. We're talking about whether people might be interested in doing a weekly support group. So that once you set your goals in motion, once you decide what you're looking for, that we'll meet once a week. You know, just to kind of keep everybody on track, answer your questions, that kind of thing. Whether you come once a week, whether you come once a month, or whatever would be entirely up to you. But if you did put your name on that list, I'd like you to check off on the side if that might be of interest to you to do that, because I'm not going to go through the effort if people aren't interested in doing that. But I think having a support system, or at least even a buddy that you can work with, to say, okay, what have you done today for this, or, you know, why are you slacking on this, you know, to kind of support each other. I mean, Rachel's very much aware of needing a buddy for this and staying on track, because life happens. Life happens, we get distracted, we get angry, we get frustrated, and we forget that there is another way to go about this. Okay? So, a lot of people are trying to unlock the secret because they know that it works. And again, I will say it will work if you work it. Now, what happens when you send something out into the universe that you want? And I don't care whether it's money, I don't care if it's a job, I don't care if it's a leaf blower, I don't care if it's a car, a kitchen dinette set. It doesn't matter what it is that you want. The universe is more than happy to give it to you. It's like the genie in the lamp. Okay, it's Aladdin. Ask and you shall receive. That's simply how it goes. And I know it sounds crazy, I know. But I'm here to tell you that I have attracted more things in my life than I could probably spend the entire evening and all the way into tomorrow sharing different stories with you. Okay? Because it does work. It absolutely works. Now, what happens is, once you put it out there, you have to let it go. You have to let it go. It's like one of those rotisserie chicken ovens, set it and forget it. You know, that's really what you got to do. You can put it out there, okay, but you can't be attached to it. You can get anything you want as long as you don't need it. Okay? So, let's start with this. The idea is that you decide what you want. Okay? That's not a good marker. You decide what you want. Okay? So, let's take your dinette set. Okay? Rachel wants a new dinette set. I want a new kitchen table, we'll call it. Kitchen table. Alright? Now, by stating it this way and putting it out there, what happens is the universe takes this information, okay, and we'll even go so far as to say, I want money. Okay? It takes this information and it duplicates it. It's a copy machine, remember? Let's not forget. It's a copy machine. So what you're sending out is, I want a new kitchen table. I want money. What's it going to do? It's going to photocopy that and say, I want money. I want money. I want money. I want money. You never get the money because you always want the money. Because you always want the money. So let's take it one step further. I need money. 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 So you don't get the money. You get to need money. Okay? So what you need to do is say, I have plenty of money. So now, you say to yourself, hell, I don't have plenty of money, right? Because your brain is saying, but that's not true, right? Well, then it's always not going to be true. Because not only do you have to do it here, you've got to do it here and here. Most people miss that point. They get thrown into affirmations. Does everybody know what affirmations are? Does anybody not know what affirmations are? Okay, good. This is good. All right. So they get thrown into affirmations, saying affirmations that have no conceptual base for how they really feel. So when you say an affirmation over and over and over again, unless you actually have a true core belief system somewhere in you that can sort of associate with that affirmation, it's just not going to happen. Because what happens is you start saying it, and every time you say it, your brain says, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, every time you repeat an affirmation that you believe is not true. What you need to do is create the feeling. You've really got to generate the feeling. Now, if I said to you, Dorothy,
Yes.
on March 1st, I'm going to give you $50,000. How does that feel?
I feel ecstatic.
Exactly. Cheryl, on March 1st, you get a brand new car. Okay?
I'm happy.
Yeah. Now notice how interesting that feels. Because it's all about the feeling. You've got to generate the feeling of what it would feel like to actually have the things that you want. So I don't care if it's a car, I don't care if it's a house, I don't care if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever floats your boat. I don't care if it's a new job, if it's a new bedspread, you know, who cares what it is? Because for everybody it's something different. You know, like I said earlier, we all have the same basics that we want. We all want love, we all want to feel loved, we want to have a job we love. Most of us don't. Okay, so let's all start there. You know, we want to have a nice car, or, you know, maybe not. Maybe you just want a car for transportation. It doesn't have to be nice, okay? So we want the basic things, but if we start to break it down and say, look at something specifically, a car, all right? If I were to ask Rachel here what kind of new car she would like to have, she might say a Lexus, okay? Now for me, my new car that I wanted was a Cadillac Escalade. Now I don't think any of you ladies were at the lecture that I did over at Interior Plus, is it? Barbara Sullivan's place over there? Interior Plus, Hip and Chic, whatever it's called. I did a lecture there on exactly this, okay, talking about the law of attraction and doing a demonstration on how you would tell the universe about your new car. That evening, and I think that was 4 years ago, 3 years ago? Is it 3? No, I think it's 3 years that I got the car.
3 years you had the car.
Yeah.
4 years, yeah.
I actually went and did this whole little demonstration, which I'm going to do for you guys. And that's what your notebook is for, by the way. So that nobody goes home and says, well, I can't start today. So you all have a notebook. And the reason why it's such a cheap and cheesy notebook, because I got them at Walmart, and I bought the cheapest ones I could find, is because the universe doesn't care what you put it on. You can put it on a napkin. It doesn't matter. But the whole idea is to write it down. Because once you take it from up here, because you can say, well, God knows what I want. But do you really know what you want? Okay? And by writing it down, you're clarifying exactly what you want. Okay? So 4 years ago, I guess it was 4 years ago, I did this lecture on this very thing over at hip and chic. And I said, I want a new car. So like I was saying, the beauty of it is that, you know, she wants a Lexus. I wanted a Cadillac. You might want a Mercedes. You might want a, you know, BMW. You know, you might want a Volkswagen Bug. It doesn't matter. But we all have different preferences when it comes to the basics of what we like. Somebody might like a really contemporary modern home. Somebody else might be looking for a home on the beach. Somebody might want a cabin in the woods. You know, we're all unique and different. And there's plenty out there. And then when we talk about the law of attraction, a lot of people say, well, there's just not enough. Everybody talks about not enough. And our economy right now is reflecting that. People are in fear, okay? And they are continuously affirming there is not enough. There is not enough. There is not enough. And we're seeing it as a mass consciousness, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. Tell Donald Trump there's not enough. He'd laugh in your face. Do you know that 1% of our population controls 96% of the world's wealth? Why? I want some. And I know you want some, 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 and all of you. We all do. But we don't go after it because we don't think we can. These people know they can. And that's why the rich keep getting richer. Because they know that they can. And they have a high expectancy to have good things come to them. They have a high expectancy when they walk into a business meeting, knowing that they're going to walk out there with the deal. And it might not be exactly, they might have to negotiate, but they walk in there with the attitude that they're going to get it. And then they do. Most of us walk into a job interview scared to death. Saying, oh my God, am I dressed okay? What are they going to think of me? What's going to happen here? And it's like walking into a room with a dog. The dog will instantly know your energy. The dog will instantly know if you're afraid. How does the dog know that? Because that energy is coming off of you at all times. Animals have a very keen sensitivity to it. And if we ate a little better and if we, you know, did some healthier things for ourselves, we might have that kind of sensitivity too. But for the most part, most of us are walking around like this, you know, so it doesn't really matter. But when you put that energy out there and you go into that job interview and you're questioning yourself, even though you know you're fully qualified for this position and it's paying a lot of money, and you're saying, I really want this job, it's got great benefits, it's got great packages and dental and eye and health and all the great stuff that I want, great vacation, and I can even work from home a couple days a week or whatever. We still walk in there timid and scared. Like, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to, you know, see that I'm the right person for this job? And so we've already cut ourselves off before we've even walked through the door. And we do that with everything. Everything. We question ourselves. Do you know the average statistic, and I actually read it again in one of these books this morning, is that the average person talks to themselves 60,000 times a day. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I mean, my mouth never stops running, so like, you know, if you started counting the words that I said every day, I guess I'd get kind of close. But yeah, we talk to ourselves, and more often than not, those thoughts are negative. So we've got to really think about what we're putting out there and try and transform. Now I have a lovely little gift for all of you. Rachel, I think you have one of these beautiful bracelets.
Wearing mine right now.
I was wondering whether I would qualify, but
Why would you not qualify?
Well, that's
well, you
nice.
said bracelet. You said bracelet.
Oh, no, men wear bracelets. You're wearing this bracelet.
But thank you.
That's too small. That would really hurt. You don't want to hurt you. Too bad. Not too bad. I want to hurt you, but not bad. Not really bad. I don't want to make you bleed or something. I'm not just bad. I'm a special bracelet. Now,
Poor kid.
these are precious. They're very, very precious. That's too tight. That might hurt you. How did you do this? Leave these out. Miss Missy, do you have a beautiful bracelet on?
I do.
Oh, so you don't need one. You've got your beautiful bracelet. Is that too tight? I don't want it to cut off the circulation. Not right now. So if your head starts turning blue, let me know and we'll give you another one. Okay, now that you all have your gorgeous, very priceless bracelets on, the purpose of this, of having one of these, is that every time you catch yourself being negative, saying something negative, thinking something negative, I want you to snap that, and snap it hard. Okay, I want you to snap it hard. That
Don't
goes for
look at
you
me.
too.
I'm just gonna stop watching TV now.
Now, what that does, okay, once you snap it, okay, you say something negative, you think something negative. Oh, I hate that guy, he drives me crazy. I want you to snap that. And then I want you to rub it and replace that statement with a positive one. Well, I guess he's not that bad, he's just in his own world. You know, whatever. I want you to replace it with something positive. That was probably not the best expression of that, but you know what you say to yourself. You know the expressions that you take. So when you say, I don't have enough money, or I can't pay my bills, instantly I want you to snap that. Instantly. Don't think about it, and then I want you to say, money's coming to me. I pay my bills on time every month. In full, even. Okay? And what you're doing is you're sending a neuro association to the brain that saying something negative hurts. And then when you massage it and you say something positive, you're saying to the body and the brain that saying something positive is pleasurable. Okay? Negative is painful, positive is pleasurable. So that you continuously move towards a more positive way of thinking. A more positive way of thinking. I don't know if you were here for the beginning part. I don't even remember what I said. But we were talking about how what people say and what they do affect us. And we've got to maintain our own truth at all times. It doesn't matter what anybody else is saying, doing, being. Because people will criticize you for being positive.
Yeah,
which is astonishing.
It's all good.
Yeah, you've almost got shot a few times. But if you start telling people that, you know, you're working with the law of attraction, you're sending out positive energy, they'll tell you you're crazy. For years. I think even today my family thinks I'm crazy. And I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I know my own truth. And as long as you know your own truth, then it'll work for you. Because there are people that are going to tell you, what, you think you can make a list for a car and just get it? What, are you crazy? And I say, yes I am, thank you. And that's what you got to do. You got to know your own truth. And don't allow other people to persuade you. Because they will. Because they don't want to be miserable alone. Misery loves company. Okay? So understand that. And people will try to bring you down. But you've got to maintain your own space, your own truth. And as long as you can do that, and use little reminders for yourself. You know, there are certainly things that you can do. I mean, when I started with this, I would stick Post-its all over my house. All over my house, just to remind me to stay positive. Because it's hard. This is very simple, very, very simple philosophy. But it's not easy. It's very simple in that all you got to do is feel it, think it, know it, believe it. Okay? But to stay in that space is extraordinarily challenging in the world that we live in. It really, truly is. Because you will have members of your own family, your own friends, will be calling you up, you know, and you've just got to like step back, separate yourself from the madness, and look at it as Shakespeare would say, all the world's a stage and we are merely players. Rush said that too, right, in their song, Rush.
Yeah.
Guys are all in the same age group. We all know Rush. And that's the reality of it, is that we all have our own movie going on. And we all have our own dramas. And the drama that you engage in is going to be the energy of your life. So as long as you play that game or play that role or jump into that movie with somebody else, you're in it. If you could just step back when somebody's, okay, and say, that's their movie. I don't want any part of it. That's a crazy drama. If I want that, I'll go watch 24. You know? You've just got to separate yourself from what other people are doing. Either that or try to, you know, encourage them to be more positive. Encourage them to see things a little bit differently. Share your stories. Because what's going to happen after you leave here tonight is that you will have your own miraculous little events of the law of attraction. Okay? You already had one. I remember because I was a part of it, which is really, really interesting, and I'll share that with you guys. And this morning I got a wonderful phone call from Rachel, who's been a student of the law of attraction for the last month or two?
A couple months.
2 months, something like that, a couple of months, and transforming her attitude. But today's call was great. It was spectacular, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I will share with you some of the things that I've attracted, okay? My car being one, but that is not the first car that I've ever attracted. That is the fourth. Third or fourth?
Third.
Third. Something like that.
Yes.
It's getting old now. But it's great. It's great. When you finally sit down and make a list of something and have it come to you, I cannot begin to express to you, as she's got permagreen going on, how spectacular that feeling is. To know that suddenly you're in control. Okay, we live our lives like we have no control over anything. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. We have control over every aspect of our life. Every aspect of our life. And you say, well, that's not true. You know, I've got to deal with my mother, and she's just so negative, and she does this, and she says this, and blah, blah, blah. She drives me crazy. Well, you know what? She only drives you crazy if you let her. Nobody can affect you if you don't let them. It's that simple. And if you sit back and you say, yeah, but, well, I would invite you to write that down, put it in your pocket, and take it out a couple days from now when you're sitting home by yourself and really explore and meditate on that statement. Because if you start looking at the people that are in your life and the events that are in your life, you've created all of them. Even if it's by simply allowing other people to behave that way. One of the things that really is hugely important in understanding the law of attraction and creating the life that you want rather than the life that you have, okay, is, this is first and foremost, you have to, no ands, ifs, or buts about it, take 100% responsibility. Sorry, I don't write very neatly on this board. For everything in your life. Everything that happens in your life, you have to take responsibility for it. You say, well, I can't if he's doing this, or if she's doing that. Yes, you can. What is your participation? It's a simple question. What is your participation? What in you needed that experience with that person? That's a hard question to ask, because a lot of us don't want to know the answer to that. But we all have something inside of us that draws in different experiences for different reasons. And for the most part, we can look at a situation that is absolute hell while we're going through it. And say, well, I certainly didn't attract that. I certainly, am not 100% responsible for that. And I would challenge that. And say, think about something that happened in your life a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And say, what have you learned from it? How have you grown from that experience? And we can all look back at these experiences and find something good that we've learned. So we draw these experiences to ourselves for evolutionary purposes, because our natural being is to want to grow, to want to, learn and move forward. I mean, if we stay in our little stuck hole, then we might as well go back to cavemen, because we're not advancing. Everybody wants to advance on some level. If we were still the people that we were in high school, boy, oh boy, wouldn't that be a nightmare? Right? So, every experience teaches us something. So, again, the very first step to understanding the law of attraction is 100% responsibility no matter what. So when something bad is happening, you say, uh-oh, what did I do? What did I say? What was I thinking? Stop. Ask yourself. Your husband blew a hose in the truck the other day, and her husband's been a student of the law of attraction lately too, because he's getting a charge out of it. He thought we were crazy too until he started seeing Rachel getting some wonderful things. Okay?
He was my biggest critic. Yeah, he said I wonder why the hose hasn't blown yet in the truck.
And that day, that day the hose blew in his truck. Watch your mouth, honor your word. Watch, because now, you guys are all here for a reason. Okay, nobody shows up at these things at happenstance. I don't believe in coincidence at all. And once you learn about the law of attraction, you won't either. Okay, everything happens for a reason. So everybody in this room is here because they're ready to move forward. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. Okay? So, knowing that, we have just let the genie out of the bottle. Okay? We just let the genie out of the bottle. You can't shove the genie back in the bottle. Okay? Understand that. Because now you have a personal responsibility to yourself. Because now that you have this information, it'll never leave you. And even if you want to say, I don't believe this, it doesn't work, it's still in the back of your head. Gnawing at you, eating at you. And it will for the rest of your life. Why? Because we all hope for something. We're all yearning for something. Now, there's a big difference between hope. My markers are a little funny. Belief and knowing. Okay, this is step 2 in the law of attraction. This is where most of us sit, right here, in hope. We're all hoping for everything. We hope this happens. We hope God hears our prayers. We hope, we hope, we hope. Okay? Then sometimes we go into belief. Belief is something that we hope, and we really, really hope it's true. We have a belief, but we're really not quite sure. We're not certain. A knowing is absolute certainty. That's when you know something's true. Nobody's going to tell you something different. Most people stand in hope. Few move to believe. You now must know with absolute certainty. If you sit back and hope, it's never going to happen. Because your subconscious, now we're talking about 3 levels here, okay? Just as we all in psychology have a parent, a child, an adult side of us, okay? Just as in religion we have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, okay? We also have the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious, okay? Most people operate from here. Most people, in their religious aspects, operate from here. And most of them operate from either the parent or the child mode. Few people go into adult mode. Okay? Now understand that even though we're operating from here, okay, doesn't mean these go away. They still exist. You can't just wipe them off the planet. It's part of who you are. So we all can rationalize and understand that subconsciously we think things. And that's why we say things. You know? Especially when we're drunk. Yeah. Things come flying out of your mouth when you had too much to drink, and you're like, where did that come from? Oops. Right? I mean, we've all been there. Let's be real. Okay, because it's here. Down here. Didn't go away. Still there. Right? You're laughing. I know you do that. So, understand that when you're talking about the law of attraction, you're operating from all 3 levels. You're not just operating from the conscious level. So if deep down you believe you don't deserve something, you're not going to get it. Okay? There's got to be an absolute knowing. And I would tell you, go online, buy these movies, you know, go to the library. Actually, a couple of them here are from the library that I borrowed. Okay, there's also this funny little movie that came out, I think in 1994, no, 2004. It's called What the Bleep Do We Know? And I'm sure none of you have heard of this one. And this is, I know you have. This is all about the law of attraction too. But certainly not as marketed as The Secret was. But there's quantum physics in here too. And they talk about, you know, the energy of water, which is fabulous. You know, they talk about all these different things and how, exactly what I'm telling you right now. So if you don't believe me, go to the library, go to the bookstore, go do all of these things. I'm not telling you to take my word as gospel. What I'm telling you is that try it for yourself. Try it for yourself. When I found out about this, I made it part of my mission in life to share this with everybody I know. So anytime I get a hold of anybody, especially a client on my table, they're doomed. Yeah, they're doomed. Because why would you not take advantage of this? Why not? It's like saying, oh no, I'd rather sit in jail, thank you. When you could be sitting on the beach in the Bahamas. But it seems too good to be true. And we are so conditioned. All right, let's look at our parents. Let's just look at our parents. Now, most of our parents have told us many, many things, many warped realities. At least I know mine have. So I'm guessing yours have too. And I know I'm not alone. But I grew up in a very poor family. Very poor family. We had no money. My mother was on welfare. She raised 3 kids by herself. Later on in life, she got remarried and had more children, but we had it tough. We had it really tough. Really, really tough. And so that financial consciousness was woven into the tapestry of who I was. Because that's what I was learning as I was growing. Money didn't grow on trees. We're not Rockefellers. You know, all of those things that we've all heard, you know. I know I'm not alone with this. But the reality is once I grew up and stepped away from that and started to examine the belief systems that I had, I realized that they weren't serving me. Money doesn't grow on trees? Yes, it does! Hello? They make paper out of trees. They make money out of paper. Doesn't anybody get the philosophy of that? We take what we learn from our parents, from our teachers, from our clergymen, from all of the people in our neighborhood, whether it's the lady upstairs or whatever, from when we're growing up, and we incorporate that into our brain, because as we're growing, we're like little sponges. Deborah never gave that up, but we're like little sponges, and we just suck in all that information all the time, all the time, all the time. And that's how we learn. That's how we learn. That's why parents have the hardest job on the planet, because their role is to teach children and to teach them how to become independent human beings while still living in the chaotic world that we live in. So it's hard. But we adopt these philosophies, and more often than not, they're very twisted. We don't think about what they are at all. Yeah, there's this wonderful little story that I heard, and I think it was Joel Osteen actually that shared this story for the first time, that made me laugh my butt off. But I never forgot it, and I share it all the time. And there was this married couple, and the husband says to the wife, he says, you know, you make the best roast under the sun. It's fantastic. He says, but I notice that you always cut the ends off of it. Why? And she said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? He said, well, that's what my mother always did. So, and she always made the best roast, so that's what I do. I cut the ends off the roast. So she calls her mother, because now she's all perplexed and saying, well, why does she cut the ends off the roast? And when she speaks to her mother on the telephone, the mother says, I don't know. I only did it that way because Grandma did it that way, and she always made the best roast, and she taught me how to make the roast. So now they're really perplexed over this whole thing, so they decide to call the grandmother. And they get Grandma on the phone and say, Gran, you know, you make the best roast out of everybody, and we've been doing it the same way, and it's working out great, but, you know, I'm really curious, why do you cut the ends off your roast? She said, because my pan was too small. So she had to cut the ends off to fit in the pan. But see, that's what we do. That's what we do. We don't question anything. It's amazing. I watched a program on TV the other night, well, a couple weeks ago, where it was some kind of, I don't know, some video clip or whatever, where they were watching how people react in different situations. So they sent this guy out in London, over by the main park over there or whatever, and he went out and he was just talking to people that were walking by and asking them if they would be so kind as to do this for him or that for him, and you know, they just he's crazy, and just keep walking, no thank you, no thank you. Well, they took that same man and that same set of circumstances, okay, and they put him in a uniform. They put him in a uniform and put a hat on his head. Sent the same exact guy with the same exact script out into the public. Every single person he talked to stopped and was willing to help him. Are we that gullible? He asked this woman if he could bite her corn on the cob. And she let him. Because he looked like a police officer. We don't stop and use logic. So I'm inviting you to use logic. Stop moving so fast, especially you. Stop moving so fast. Slow down. Think a little bit. What do you want out of life? How can you get it? What's going on? Okay? And allow the universe to speak to you. We're so busy doing and running and this and that that we don't quiet our minds long enough to hear anything. And the universe is speaking to you every day, all the time. There's this lovely book called The Alchemist. I love this book. Read it a couple times. It's a gift from Deborah. Thank you. And it's about a shepherd boy who decides that he's going to seek his own personal treasure. He's going to look for a treasure. And he goes on this very long journey. And I won't tell you about it because I'm hoping that you might want to take it out of the library and read it because it's really a great book. But it does talk about energy. And it doesn't specifically talk about the law of attraction per se, but it does talk about the universe and how the universe will speak to you all the time. And in this book, they say, you know, look for the omens. Okay? Once you put something out into the universe, you really have to pay attention. Even if you ask a question, the universe will answer you. God will answer you. Chester will answer you. Whatever. It will answer. You just gotta be open to hearing it, to seeing it, to receiving it. Most of us here are bad receivers. Most of us are very, very bad receivers. Why? Why? If somebody says, you know, let me buy you lunch. Oh, no, 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 no. Let me buy you lunch. Why not? I say, okay, thank you. We're bad receivers. We've been taught it's poor manners. Well, it's not poor manners if my friend Rachel wants to take me out for a drink. No, go ahead. It's not. It's being friendly. You know, if somebody gives you a postage stamp, I want you to take it and say thank you very much. If your child hands you a quarter, I want you to take it and say thank you very much, not say, no, 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 you put it in your piggy bank. No, the child is giving you. That's something that the child needs to do. They need to understand the duality of giving and receiving. We need to understand the duality of giving and receiving. Okay, so it's a wave, okay? Be open to the receiving end of it. And if you find that you can't, you need to take the time to ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. One of the things that is hidden deep down in most of us is that we feel that we don't deserve it. Why? Why don't you deserve to be rich? Why don't you deserve to be rich? Why not? If all these other people, we'll take Donald Trump for instance, we'll take Tony Robbins, we'll take, you know, who's the guy with Microsoft? Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, all of these people that got oodles and oodles and oodles of money. Why do they deserve it and you don't? What's the difference? You say, oh, because they can do something I can't? Because Bill Gates invented Microsoft? Because Donald Trump has tons of real estate things, because Oprah Winfrey, what did she ever do? Oh, what's her TV show?
She's a giver.
She is now. She wasn't when she didn't have it. Oprah was very poor. What does Oprah do? Oprah does what we're doing right now. She sits and chats.
And she
And
owns
don't
her
get me
own
wrong.
studio.
Hmm?
She owns her own studio.
Now, she didn't.
She did. For a very long time.
But she started out just
Yeah.
doing general.
But for 25 years, she's owned her own
No,
studio.
She started out in news,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a journalist. She started out as a journalist. But the point that I'm making here is that we can all make excuses as to why they have it and we don't. But it all boils down to we don't think we can and we don't think we deserve it. And I'm telling you, yes you can and yes you do. We all deserve to be happy. I mean, if we go to, you know, all of the religious writings, we go back, let's go back to the Bible, okay? Now, I'm not a huge religious person at all, but if we look at this, all right, they say back then, may your barns be full, may your cup runneth over. Where did we go wrong? You know, all of these things say that we should all be abundant. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking at the Bible, the Quran, whatever. I don't care what you're looking at. Look at Wallace Waddles. Okay? Whatever. Okay? It all speaks the same language when you break it down. We all deserve it. The only thing that stops us is this right here. We stand in our own way. So if you can get the heck out of your own way, you can have anything you want. All right. So I'm rambling, I know. So what we're going to do is, speaking of Donald Trump, this is a great little story about the law of attraction. All right. Like I said, I tend to put it out there for whatever, whenever, and why not, okay? I was going to Trump Towers, right? I was looking for the right outfit to wear. Didn't know what I was going to wear. And went shopping, and I was down at Woodbury Commons, and I found this. Okay? And I liked it. It was just bright and sunny and fun and spoke to me. Okay? Not the average thing you'd wear to Trump Tower, I would say. Most people look like they're going to IBM when they're going to Trump Tower. But this was my thing. It was fun. Struck me. I enjoyed it. So now, sitting down at Woodbury Commons with my fun little sweater and Deborah, sitting on this bench. I'm saying, now I've got to find shoes. What am I going to wear with that? What shoes do you wear with that? Okay? Because I had a nice pair of winter white slacks that I was going to wear with it. So, but I needed shoes. All of a sudden, we're sitting on this bench, and this gentleman walks up to us. And he says, is there a Macy's here? I said, no. It's Woodbury Commons. There's no Macy's here. So I looked at Deborah, I said, I think we need to go to Macy's. I mean, there were tons of shoe stores at Woodbury Commons that we could have perused. But my little messenger came to tell me about Macy's. So off to Macy's we go. Didn't even look in the other stores. Because I've lived this too long to know. So now we're in Macy's and we're perusing. I brought the shoes. You bet your butt I brought the shoes. The story would be incomplete without the shoes.
Wait to see the shoes.
So I'm standing there, and we see these like green strappy sandals, and I'm thinking, okay, that might work. That might look nice with that. And all of a sudden this lady, this odd woman out of nowhere, comes over to me. Now she doesn't even know about the sweater, because we left the sweater in the car. Left the sweater in the car. Does not exist in Macy's. This woman doesn't know us. She wasn't even near us to hear any kind of conversation we were having. She just like came out of the woodwork, coming up to me. And she said, "Did you see those shoes over there?" And I look at Deborah, I'm like, isn't that odd? Isn't that odd? Well, I go around the bend, and these are the shoes I find. Bizarre.
They're cute.
I think,
Yeah.
and they look great with the slacks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you couldn't get a better one.
Perfect.
Okay? So this is what the law of attraction will do for you. You've got to pay attention. You've got to pay attention. All right? That was just a fun one. But the best part of the story, the very best part of the story for me, you know, because I knew these kinds of things happened all the time. But then when I went to Trump Towers, I look over the railing, and I see Donald Trump stand there. And the man looks right up at me. Now here I am in my snazzy orange, and there he stands with his bright orange tie. The same exact color. Him and I were wearing the same exact colors. Meanwhile, the rest of the people that were there were in their navy blue and black suits.
He went with his pink hair, right?
Yeah. So, but once you put it out there, expect miracles. You don't know what's going to happen. Expect the unexpected. Absolutely expect the unexpected. You know, 15 years ago, I did a lot of lecturing all over the place. And I remember doing a lecture, not on this type of thing, I was just talking about kinesiology and alternative medicine and all that kind of stuff. And I was doing a lecture at Barnes & Noble on Route 346 in Clifton, New Jersey. There's probably about 50 people there. And we're talking about energy, and we're talking about energy. And this woman says to me, "Well, did you write a book?" Because now here I am, like promoting everybody else's book. And I'm saying to myself, if I said no, which was the truth, it would shut down that energy pattern. So I said, not yet. I had no intentions of writing a book. None. Well, here we are, 15 years later, and here's the book. I didn't know what I was going to write a book about. But you don't want to shut the channels down. When I was a little girl, I lived in Spain. I moved to America, I couldn't speak English. I was ridiculed, made fun of. It was horrific. And I swore that when I learned how to speak English, I would never speak Spanish again. To this day, I still don't speak Spanish. I've tried. I've even bought programs, which is sick, considering I went to school in Spain for 2 years and couldn't speak a word of English. I can't speak Spanish. I mean, I can get by. I can, you know, play the charades game and stuff. I speak Spanglish. My mother speaks 5 languages. I should be able to speak 2, especially since I already knew it. But by saying that, even as a little child, I will never, with such intensity, do that again. It actually shut down that area of my being that even today, at my age, I still have not been able to break through. So understand how powerful this is. What you project is very powerful. You've got to create the emotion of knowing that you can do these things. You've got to be positive in what you project out into the world. Now, when you want something specific, and I'm going to try and make this quick because I know it's getting late, right? It is getting late. All right. So say you want a new car. All right. Now, as I started saying earlier, and you didn't reel me back in, But
Sorry.
a couple of years ago, I had done this exercise, and I said that I wanted a new Cadillac Escalade, okay? My Escalade is sitting right here in the driveway for all of you to see, okay? So you can have whatever you want. Like I said, this is the third or fourth car that I've gotten this way. I will use a car as an example. This is not my car, because I love my car, so I'm happy. Okay, but we'll use a car just so that you understand how to use your little notebook, okay? My divine car, okay? Basically, the divine, what does that mean? It's your will, God's will, universe's will, combined. Okay, so you're putting it out there, this is what you want, and the universe is saying, okay, this is what I want too. So when you want something, I always use my divine whatever. Okay, you want my divine house, my divine mate, my divine job, my divine whatever. I don't care. My divine coffee table, whatever it is. Coffee pot, doesn't matter. Okay, then you're going to start listing things. And what I want you to do on your paper is skip a line in between each one. And the purpose for this is because you will get everything that's on your list. It may not come in one complete package. But leaving that line in between says, I want all of these things, but it doesn't have to come complete immediately. Okay? So, one of the first things I would advise any of you to do, everything is written in present tense. Like I said, you don't say, I want this, or I need this. You already have it. You create that void for the universe to fill. Okay? Very, very important. So, my new car, first and foremost, is affordable. Because you don't want to get a car that you can't afford, right? So, either you're going to get it really, really cheap, or you're going to get a great job so that you can pay for it. One or the other. Okay, but that leaves it open. Okay? My new car is new or like new. And the reason I say that is because you might find a Mercedes S350 that you want, okay, that somebody bought, stuck it in their garage for 2 years, never drove it, and decided they didn't want it anymore. Okay, and then suddenly it's at the lot, it's got 10,000 miles on it, or 5,000 miles on it, and it's half the price. Right? So, is it going to matter to you if it's got 5,000 miles on it, if you're paying a fraction of the price for it? Probably not. Probably not. But if it's got to be new, then get rid of the like new. Okay? But understand that you can't dictate how these things are going to come to you. Alright? And you just go down the line. Okay? My new car has a Bose sound system. Bose system. And this is why I'm saying to skip a line, because your new car might not have the Bose system in it, but you might get it a couple months later. Alright? As a gift for Christmas or something. You never know. Alright? It's got leather seats. Whatever. All the things that you want. Okay? It's got delayed windshield wipers. I don't know. It's got whatever. Whatever. A navigation system. It's got windshield wipers on the headlights. Whatever. Whatever it is that you think you want. Okay? You can go as far as to say, which I didn't do here, my new car is a Mercedes S350. Make sure you specify what kind of car you want. Because otherwise you'll be bombarded with cars all over the place. Okay? Let the universe know what color you want. It's white. It's a convertible. And you just go down the line. Okay? And list every single thing that you want in it. Then, at the end, did we get that gentleman's email address? Phil's here? Good, because I want to send him this information, because see, I didn't stick to what I said before. You ladies let me get out of control. I said I was going to put the important stuff first. Now, Cheryl I know I can get the information to, but I didn't know who that guy was. So I want to make sure that he gets this information, because it's like the key to everything. So after you're done with your list, at the end, when you're really, really, really done, you're going to say, the new car, boat, house, boyfriend, job, whatever, that I am seeking is seeking me and the law of attraction brings us together in perfect harmony. Okay? Now, I do this second to last. That's my personal preference. And I'll tell you what I put on it. You can do what you like. Okay? Now, aside from my little shoe episode, I've gotten a boat, I've gotten an excavator, I've gotten a hot tub, I got a leaf blower, I got a doom buggy, So, the sky's the limit. The universe doesn't care what it is, only you do. And the universe likes speed, okay? So now, let me just say this. If you're going for a job, and I think you and I talked about this the other day, Missy. If you're going for a job, try to make it realistic, okay? If you put down that you want to be the CEO of a company, that's a great goal, and that's fine. And you will eventually get there. But it's not going to happen by twitching your nose if you're working in the mailroom. Okay, you can't go from here to here without having steps in between. Okay? Understand that. The universe will set it up so that you can learn and grow into that position. Because once you put it out there, you will get there. Unless you change your mind about it. You will absolutely get there. But you've got to take action. Okay? When you put something out there, it's either going to come to you at your doorstep. Okay? I mean, I came home one day and there was a $380 coffee pot sitting on my front step. Brand new in the box. This little Italian cube, it was called. The cube. It's like, what the heck is this? My uncle dropped it off. He said, I thought you'd like it. So things are going to just come to you. Okay? Now, Rachel left. She called me this morning. She's just been learning about the law of attraction. And she told me that she wanted to get a new dinette set in her kitchen. She wants to replace her whole kitchen. Okay? She lives in an old farmhouse and they really want to redo the kitchen, but not ready to spend 20 grand on doing this. Okay? So, her and her husband, now her husband's starting to see things work. You know, because he was negative Ned, you know, as most men are, until they start to see you getting stuff. And then suddenly it turns around. But her husband's real excited, because now he's getting it all into it. And so now you've got two energies in that household that are focused on the same thing, which is great. Okay, so she decides she's going to look on Craigslist. And she finds a dinette. that she's delighted about for $100. She's really, really, really happy. So she agrees to buy this thing. She sends her husband over to pick it up. Well, he gets into conversation with the lady who's selling it. And she says, well, the only reason why I love this thing, the only reason why I'm selling it is because we're redoing our kitchen. And it's not going to go with what we're putting in here. And he said, really? You're getting rid of all these great cabinets? And she said, sure, would you like them? And he said, okay. Well, as it turns out, the kitchen cabinets fit perfectly for what they need. The counter fits. They got the sink, the faucet, the counter, the cabinets, everything for their new kitchen for free. Do not think because you don't know how it's going to happen that it's not going to happen. You don't need to know how it's going to happen. That's not your job. Your job is to put it out there and let the universe take care of the rest.